In the past 10 days, I have traveled from Florida to Texas, over to Alabama, and then back to Florida. During that trip, I had the opportunity to experience three really incredible home theaters. The first home theater was an absolute masterpiece. I mean, it just was fantastically done, both visually, but as well as the amount of engineering. Now, this is one of those top tier, world class home theaters. And really, I pretty much call this a private cinema. I mean, this thing far exceeds any cinema that I have ever experienced, and also any home theater that I've ever experienced. Incredible architecture. I've never seen an entryway that's so elaborate and just ornate with all this beautiful woodworking. I'm going to do a full tour on all three of these, but I wanted to make a video just sharing why I do home theater tours and why I've done them over the past 7 years. 7 years ago, I had somebody local that reached out, and they had mentioned that they had I think it was SVS subwoofers. I'd never heard SVS subwoofers, and they reached out and said, "Hey, Michael, I'm not too far from you. I'd be more than happy to have you over and let you check out my PB16s." And so I went there, had a chance to film my first home theater tour. And so I asked him, I said, "Hey, do you mind if I make a video while I'm here?" And it was kind of awkward for me, but I found that I really loved sharing about people's setups. Originally, home theater tours began more as, hey, here I'm at somebody's home theater, and then I would get behind the camera and then let them talk for whatever, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and they would go around their room pretty awkwardly, honestly, because they're not used to being in front of a camera, and they were carrying the entire conversation. I wasn't involved in it. I was just the cameraman. And so they would say, "Hey, here's my receiver, and here's my chairs, and here's my acoustic treatment in the room, and here's the projector that I went with." And it was really more just about the gear. Over the years, I began to realize there's more to somebody's home theater than just the equipment. Now, the equipment you and I all love. I love subwoofers. I love projectors. I love comfortable theater seating, and I love big immersive screens. But at the end of the day, I found that those types of videos, the home theater tours, should be able to offer more value to you, those that are watching the video. And so I began to transition to where I want to capture the story. I want to capture their journey. Of course, we want to talk about the gear. We want to talk about why did they choose the projector that they chose. And we want to talk about the acoustics that went into the room. And this one that I just filmed, the Van Cave in Texas, man, there was so much engineering. That video is going to be an hour and a half long. And the reason is I interviewed the homeowner. We had the designer, the company that actually designed it, which is Paradise Theater. So they were there. We had the interior designer. We had the builder himself, and then the homeowner. And so we're going to hear all that went into that. Just like I said, it's just a masterpiece, and it's incredibly done. If you haven't seen the two videos that I made on that, I did 2 vlogs. And so the vlogs are an opportunity for me to share more, less polished. It's just me with a camera sharing my initial thoughts, sharing kind of a glimpse, a sneak peek, if you will, of that theater. And so it allowed me to just capture some raw first initial impressions of that. And so that's less polish. The final tour is going to be more B-roll, and it's just going to be, more of a storyline kind of thing. But anyway, so if you haven't checked out those, I highly encourage you to go look at the channel. Just click on videos, and you'll see the Van Cave. It may not even say Van Cave. I don't remember, but it's 13.7.6 Dolby Atmos vlog 1 and vlog 2. So definitely go check those out. But that home theater was just so incredible. Literally the best theater that I've ever experienced. And part of the reason why I started doing home theater tours is because originally I was building my own home theater. I wanted the opportunity to hear as much as I could so that from a content creator standpoint, when you guys ask questions, hey, Michael, should I buy this or should I buy that? That would help me to be able to guide you and to share my opinion. I don't like to share an opinion on things that I have not had experience. Prime example, today I had somebody message me on YouTube, and I'm sorry, like a comment on YouTube. And it basically said, hey, Michael, I'm considering this receiver or this receiver. Well, I've only had the experience with Marantz receivers, and I've owned several Marantz. I've owned several Denon. And I told him that. He was considering also an Onkyo. Onkyo in the past has made great receivers, but I haven't had any experience with Onkyo in many, many, many years. And so I told him I can't really comment on Onkyo because I don't know what their current offerings, I don't know how well their AVRs are at this current moment. But I can share my experience with Marantz, and they've been rock solid. I absolutely love what Marantz brings to the home theater community, and just the reliability, the ease of use in the menu. Now with Direct Live, you can get that license for that. So that opens up a whole new world of calibration opportunities for that. So that was my recommendation. But I want to experience as much as I can, honestly, selfishly, but also for you guys so that I can share my honest opinion of different setups when you ask questions. And then now with the Obsessed Home Theater, we're chasing after those great, incredible products that I can get behind and say, man, I believe in this company so much. We're willing to buy those products, become a dealer for those products, and then sell those products directly, ship them, stock them, and so forth. So home theater tours have been just a huge, a huge joy for me over the past 7 years. I started and I got too many websites. I started hometheatertours.com. Haven't really updated it in a long time, but it's a way for you, the consumer, or a brand, or even an integrator or a builder that designs really cool home theaters to reach out and say, hey, Michael, I've got this cool home theater. I'd love to, the opportunity to have you come and film mine. I made a video on this a while back on a lot of times budget friendly, for lack of better words, like the lower end, lower budget home theaters. Oftentimes financially, it just doesn't make sense for me to, let's say for instance, hop on a plane, fly out to California to film a home theater tour, of a smaller scale, nothing like this, the big one that I did in Texas. And there's no sponsorship because honestly, sadly, most brands aren't going to sponsor, even if your home theater has their product in it. If it's an older model, they typically don't want to do that. They want to promote their current models. If it's a budget setup and it's not like super fancy, truthfully, they just don't want to sponsor those. But the really cool ones, the really big ones, those are the ones that they want to highlight because that's their best work, if that makes sense. And so a lot of times they're willing to say, yeah, Michael, we'll fly you out there. Yeah, we'll pay you to make that video. And we would love to feature that. And a prime example of that, I reached out to Seymour, one of the really nice home theaters that I filmed down with Brad from Home Theater Gamer down in kind of, I guess, Central Florida on the West Coast. West Coast. Beautiful home theater, but it was a massive Seymour screen. And so I reached out to Chris Seymour, and I said, hey, Chris, this theater looks amazing, and it features your screen. Would you be interested in sponsoring this video to make this possible? And he said, heck yeah, we'd love to sponsor that. That is an amazing screen, and we would love to be, to have that out in the world. And because that was a higher end home theater tour, just really dynamic, just really amazing. Even though a lot of it was DIY, you guys responded to it very, very well. That video has gotten hundreds of thousands of views. Truthfully, a lot of times when I do the budget home theaters, you say, hey, Michael, I wish you would show more budget home theaters. They don't generate a lot of views. A lot of you guys aren't watching those, and it doesn't reach the masses. And so the revenue on that doesn't make sense if I have to travel. Now, if it's a local and you say, hey, Michael, I live 45 minutes from you, I'd love for you to film mine. That's easy. I can load up my truck, drive there, film that. And I don't have to spend time away from my family other than just that day. But to load, I mean, back here's a suitcase right here from that trip. So I carry tens of thousands of dollars in gear, packing it up, loading it up. I carry two full suitcases like that, one with gear, a smaller one with clothes, and then a huge backpack with all of my microphones and my camera. Actually like 3 or 4 microphones in that. And then another backpack is my laptop, and that I use to edit on my MacBook Pro with the M3 chip. So it's a lot that I have to pack up and carry, and just it's super time consuming, not to mention the edit. The edit on this one, Texas one, I would estimate it's going to take me a solid week to finish editing this. I was editing on the plane, and I had like a 3-hour flight, and I finished basically about 15 minutes out of an hour and a half. So it's going to take a long time to edit that. So from a business side, it just doesn't make sense for me to foot the bill to fly out to, wherever, to Ohio to film a home theater tour. If it, it doesn't even, the revenue on the video itself isn't going to even cover my flight, if that makes sense. But I love home theater tours. I love the interactions that I get a chance to do. I love the, just hearing the stories and the why, and even asking, over the years, I've learned to ask the homeowner, like, if you could go back and change your home theater, what would you do differently? And that provides education for you and me that are considering building our home theater. It might prevent us from either spending money on something, or it may keep us from running into a pitfall on our own when we build it out. And so that's going to save you time. It's going to save you some money. It may save you lots of headache in the process. And so I love adding that aspect to the home theater tour videos. But I get super excited about sharing other people and how they chose to do it in their room. And even if it's a massive multi-million-dollar home theater, I think we all can look at that and go, man, I like what they did here. Yes, my budget is nowhere near that, but I think I can modify it. Maybe you can build it yourself. Maybe there's something in the DIY that you see their acoustic treatment, or maybe you like how everything in their room is just hidden, all the speakers, and you're like, okay, well, I can't do that, but I could do this. And my hope is that it would inspire you to do something in your room and just give you some ideas. You might like how they built their riser, and you're like, well, I can build that, or I can get some friends over and we can build it together. Things like that. So that's part of why I do the home theater tours. But, when I went to Robert's home, this big, massive, beautiful, ornate, over the top, amazing experience. I love sharing those. But I also love sharing the ones that are more affordable, the ones that are more attainable for most of us. And so I'd love to share with you 2 more that I just recently came back from in Alabama. But before I do that, I just want to give a big shout out and a big thank you to my channel sponsor, Arundel Sound. You guys know I love big sound. Well, Arundel's 1528 series has taken big to a whole new level. The Tower 8 is an absolute beast, 53 inches tall, 174 pounds, and engineered to perfection with time-aligned curved baffle. But it's not just about size, it's about the massive soundstage and clarity that these speakers deliver. Trust me, once you hear the 1528 series, there's no going back. Check out the link down in the description below. So right after I came back from Texas, from filming the Van Cave home theater, the private cinema, I flew right back out, probably 2 days after that, to Alabama. And I went to visit my great friends, two of them, Sean as well as Jason. And so I haven't seen Jason and his wife in a few years. And so I was really excited about that. He had built a JTR home theater, and so I hadn't heard it yet. Sean's, of course, he's been my best friend for probably, 22, 23 years. So I've heard his home theater many, many times, but I wanted to film it. I wanted to get his thoughts. Sean had a stroke, I bet it was about 10 years ago. And so through that process, he no longer can take short-term memories and move them to long-term memories. And so there's a lot of stuff in his life, that pretty much everything in his life after the strokes, he doesn't remember. So I just visited him a few days ago. Well, after about 3 or 4 days, however long that is, he'll forget that I even came up there. But he'll have the video of my conversation with him, talking about his journey and talking about his incredible home theater. And so Sean's theater, those of you that like sports, Sean has done something just super, super cool. So his main screen, I think, is 130-inch diagonal, 16 by 9. And flanking that are 2 TVs. And what he has the ability to do is they watch a lot of sports down there. It's kind of a multi-purpose room. It's got a pool table. It's got a big bean bag, which is where they normally sit to enjoy watching movies. And then they also have theater seating behind that. And in his room, so they'll do like Super Bowl parties. They'll do mostly a lot of college ball. Sean and his family love Mississippi State. And so they'll have friends and family members over, and they'll be watching a game. And so on the main screen will be kind of like the main channel that they're watching. But then he'll load up 2 other channels. And so sometimes there'll be a sky cam on one, or sometimes there'll be a replay on the other. And it just gives you 3 different perspectives on the same game. Or sometimes the big game will be playing on the 130-inch screen, and then on maybe the 2 side screens could be some smaller games that they're not as interested in, but they still want to kind of keep tabs to see what's happening with those games. And so they'll have those playing. And so that is a super cool, unique way of doing a home theater. So it's not just for movie watching, but they spend a lot of time. I mean, a lot of time. They pretty much go into their theater room every single day, but a lot of times it's spent listening to music. So they use it for movies, they use it for music, and they use it for a lot for sports. And so it truly is a multi-purpose room. But almost everything in Sean's room was bought on a shoestring budget. I mean, this guy, if there's anybody on the planet that knows how to stretch a dollar, it's Sean. Unfortunately, after the strokes, not much has been done in his theater because of what it has done to his mental capacity and even his physical capacity. And so all of the stuff that I document pretty much happened before his strokes, but I wanted to capture that. I wanted to share all of the Youthman deals that he got. Some of them I had the blessing of being a part of that. I bought him a pair of speakers that typically go for about $450 at that time on the used market, and I found them for $50, and I just bought them. And he didn't have any, not a lot of money because he was on disability and still is on disability. He had stepped down from his job as an engineer because of the strokes and not being able to remember new information after a period of a few days. And so, but I was able to just bless him with, a really inexpensive gift, but he loved it. And just over and over and over and over, he would find stone that he ended up using in his theater room, and he bought it for like $175 for a ton of stonework. And he just did all the work himself before his strokes. And so it was just super cool to be able to document that. And so that video I've got to edit. And again, that'll take me at least a couple of days to finish editing that. And then after the following day that we filmed his, we went over to about 35 minutes from him to Jason's home. So Jason has a full JTR home theater. So this is something that he built, I think, about a year and a half ago. He's got a beautiful home. And so we had an opportunity to hear all the things that he had done in his theater to make it something that him and his family can enjoy. Now, the interesting thing about him is I'm probably 90% home theater and maybe 10% music. He's the exact opposite. He's like 10% home theater and 90% music. So he has a separate 2-channel setup that we share in the video. And just a super cool looking room and great sounding room. And he, but we want to capture both of that. I want to share his story and his passion for music as well as for movies. But his setup is just super well done. And again, I just want to provide some inspiration to you. Maybe you like how he actually did one of the lift up screens like mine, but he kind of has his own spin on it. He doesn't have the gas struts on it. So he basically just made some really cheap, inexpensive way to hold that up and support that. And so again, you might look at that and go, man, I can do that. I'd love to be able to have easy access behind my screen. And so I just really hope that the home theater tours resonate with you, that you find inspiration, that you look at how somebody did something and you think, man, I could do something like that in my space. Maybe it's the size of their room and you're like, I didn't realize I could do 3 seats, a row of 3 seats or 2 rows in a room that's only 15 foot wide by 19 foot deep or something like that, or 13 foot wide by 15 foot deep, which is technically my room, minus the cabinet. And so I just hope that it excites you, that you begin to see that, I had this misconception many, many years ago that only rich people could have a dedicated theater room. And not that you have to have a dedicated theater room. I've always been an advocate. Use whatever space that you have to make a cool space for you and your family and friends to be able to enjoy movies and music. And whether that's a living room, whether it's a bedroom, whether it's an office room, whether it's a part of your garage that you close off, or a bonus room on your second floor, wherever that space is, I've seen bedrooms converted into a dedicated theater room. I think it was a 13 by 12 foot bedroom. And the guy had a 100 and something inch, maybe 120 inch screen, acoustically transparent. He had in walls because he didn't have a lot of space. He has a 18 inch infinite baffle subwoofer in the front, again, because he doesn't have a lot of space in the room. He had 1, 2, 3, I think there was 4 theater seats. So it was wall to wall. There's no way to get around it. But it was just super cool, and it was Harry Potter themed as well. So you had no idea you were in a bedroom. When you walk in, you're like, oh my goodness, this thing looks amazing. So I say all that to say this. I absolutely love featuring home theater tours. They really, really get me excited. I love sharing the stories. I love sharing the gear. I love sharing the how-to and even the lessons learned. And so I hope you enjoy the home theater tours as well. And maybe if there's one that you have really, really enjoyed, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the home theater tours. I probably have anywhere between, I haven't counted in a long time, probably 75 home theater tours that I have filmed and edited here on my channel. So I'll leave a playlist at the end of this video, and just in case you're wanting to get some inspiration for your own home theater. But I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments on home theater tours, maybe something that you'd like to see or something that you've already seen that you really, really enjoyed here on the channel. Well, guys, I hope you have an incredible week. I'm going to get to editing these 3 videos and get them cranked out as soon as possible, but it's going to take me a little bit, so be patient with me. Hope you guys have an incredible week. God bless, and I'll catch you in the next video.